There's often a consistent debate on debit versus credit cards. Which ones do you use? All your credit card friends are coming at you like, why are you still using a debit card? You need to grow up and use a credit card. And then you have the people who may feel a little financially irresponsible or maybe trying to recover from debt that's telling you, don't use credit cards, only use your debit card. So it's giving you this confliction on like, okay, so which do I use? So that's what we're going to cover in this video. I'm going to go over the pros and the cons of both debit and credit cards. I believe the only way that you can make a good decision is to be informed. A good decision is an informed decision. So I'm just going to inform you on the things, no biasness, or to not be biased, and allow you to make your own decision. Leave my hair down in this video, so hopefully it doesn't get in the way of this mic. But anyway, let's get into this video. Also, stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to give a bonus pro on credit cards that most people don't know about. And I'm also going to tell you how I utilize my debit and credit cards. So you can kind of mimic that or just take that into consideration when trying to figure out how you should use them. Okay, so let's start with the pros, and I'm going to start with the debit card. So our first pro to having a debit card is the fact that the money is tied to your checking account. So it's tied to a bank account, meaning that their money that you are spending is money that you have. Of course, yes, you can have overdraft, but most of the time, people aren't going to spend money that they don't have in their account because swiping this card is linked to money they physically have. So this is a way of staying out of debt because you're only going to be able to spend the money that you physically have present in your debit account or in your bank account. Pro number 2. Actually, I'll link this as the pro 2 and 3. So pro number 2 is going to be that there's no fees to have a debit card. Most banks are just going to give it to you for free. Along with that, number 3 is there's also, as long as you keep money in your checking account, there's also usually no fee. So one, there's no annual fee just to have the card. And as long as you can keep a certain amount of money in it usually, or if you have a student account or something like that, they're going to waive that monthly fee for keeping the debit card. So there's usually no fees associated with having a debit card, which is great. We don't want fees just to have a piece of plastic. Number 4, which also ties into fees, is interest. So because the money that you are using is money that you already earned, it's not borrowed money, there's not going to be any interest on your payment. So if you're swiping your card and the money is just going down, but since it's not money that's being borrowed to you or lent to you, you aren't going to have any interest rates associated with spending money on this card. So that's a great pro as well. And then my final pro for a debit card is the convenience. So most places are going to take a debit card. And then if you find yourself out on the road somewhere and there's something you want to buy that absolutely needs cash, well, boom, boom, you can use your debit card at an ATM machine. If you get lucky and the ATM machine you find belongs to your bank, then that's cool, no fees associated with that. But even then, if you have to use someone else's bank and you have to pay a small fee for it, you're still able to get that cash out on hand because you have that debit card. So it's another pretty good pro for obtaining a debit card. Still on the train of pros, let's go into credit card pros now. When you use your credit card, and this is our first pro, assuming that you get a good credit card, browse out there, shop around, but they always come with a reward system. So for every dollar you make, maybe you get a point in rewards. For every dollar you spend, maybe you get 3 times the awards. Some credit cards even let you have categories. So if you spend a lot in groceries, maybe you set that as your main category and you get 3 or 5 times the points on that reward. What that means is every time that you spend money that you were going to spend anyway, right? Like you have to buy groceries, you got to buy gas, you got to buy whatever you got to buy. So the money that you were going to spend anyway, well, now you're getting money back on that in the form of points. But you can exchange those points in for a lot of different things. Travel credit, a statement credit. Maybe you have a balance on your credit card already and you've racked up $100 worth of points. You can just apply that to get that balance down. You can also get it as cash back, so you can get that money sent to a linked checking account, getting some money back. You can buy gift cards. So maybe someone's birthday's coming up and you don't want to spend your money on it. You want to spend the money that this credit card company gave you for using their card. You can cash those points in and get someone a gift card. So there's a lot of ways you can use these rewards. Makes having a credit card pretty cool because, again, it's money you're going to spend anyway. It's different when you open up a card and they say, oh, well, you got to spend $5,000 in order to get this perk. And maybe you had no plans on spending $5,000, so now you have to find a way to spend $5,000 versus, on the other hand, again, this is money you were going to spend anyway, so you might as well get a reward on it. So that's our first one. Second pro is building that credit, building credit history. This is why a lot of people like to put their children as an authorized user on their accounts when they're younger, because by the time they get into needing their own stuff, they've already built credit off of your credit. And if you didn't have that luxury as a kid where your parents did that for you, you can start that now. So as a, I wouldn't say teenager, maybe like as a young adult, getting your first credit card is going to help you build that credit. And assuming that you use it well, you're going to build good credit. You're going to show that you make your payments on time, that you keep your balance down, et cetera, which when you actually need a bigger loan for something, this shows that you got good rapport on taking care of borrowed money. Our third pro associated with credit cards is that they usually come with warranty. So whether that's travel warranty, whether that's warranty on certain products, whether that's warranty on rental cars. You ever notice that when you go to rent a car, if you have a debit card, you have to go through a few step process, right, in order to reserve that car using your debit card. But if you have a credit card, it's usually boom, boom, easy out the way. Well, that's because credit cards already come with a warranty and protection. So this is really helpful when you want to do things like rent a car, or if you do buy something and maybe that item, the manufacturer's warranty has expired or something of the sort, and now you have this warranty backed by your credit card. Again, every credit card is different and the terms are always listed in that brochure that most of us throw away. But if you read it, you'll be able to see how you can utilize all those perks. Pro number 4, a credit card obviously is borrowed money. Now, the benefit to borrowed money is usually it's higher than money that you have. Otherwise, why would you need to borrow it, right? So it kind of, in a way, increases what you can spend on. So maybe there's something that you want to buy right now that it's a good sale on it, or maybe something that you just like, this is a great deal, but you don't necessarily have the funds in this moment. You can borrow that money and then pay it off when, Friday comes and you get paid or something like that. It's like, it's money that you will have coming, but it's money that you didn't have in this moment. So a credit card allows you to do that versus your debit card. If your debit card is only showing $7 in the checking account, but this item that you want to buy is $30, you're not going to be able to get it. But if you had a credit card, you could like, oh, let me just borrow that real quick. So versus back in the day, before people had the credit cards were out, or if you just didn't have one, you would have to ask a friend. Maybe the friend you were shopping with, like, hey, can I borrow $20 until Friday? And maybe they don't have $20 to let you lend. So this is a way of guaranteeing you're going to get some borrowed money. The last pro is actually going to be a pro for both debit and credit cards, but it's going to transition smoothly into the cons. So my last credit card pro is that protection. So if someone steals your credit card, spends something on it, hacks it, whatever, gets the number, is able to spend money on it, you're most likely able to dispute that charge. Once you see it on there, like, hey, I didn't spend that, you can dispute it, you can immediately cancel the card, and you're more likely to get this money back because it was not money that actually existed yet. It was borrowed money from the bank. So you haven't even put your money into it yet. You haven't paid your car off. You haven't put your own money on it. Pretty much borrowed money got stolen. So money you owed someone else got stolen, but it wasn't money that you already had. So that's a pro. And debit cards have the same function, but it's a little more complicated, which again gets me to the first debit card con, is it's not easy to dispute charge. And most of the times, if someone gets your debit card or bank information, they still, steal it and spend money, you're probably taking an L in most cases because, again, that's money that's already gone, and it's very hard to prove those cases to the bank. So it's a lot better, if you're going to get your information still, you're going to want it to be a credit card, because once the money in the debit card is gone, it's gone, and it's going to be really hard for the banks to replenish that. So for the fraud protection, I'd say it's a lot better on credit cards than it is on debit cards. And as we go through this cons list, you'll notice that the pros of the opposite are usually the cons of the one in question. So it's just going to piggyback and forth, but we're going to go over them anyway. So moving on to the second con to a debit card is, yes, it is money that you have, which again can be a con, because if you don't have the money, then that's going to be the item that you can't buy. So debit cards can be seen as a con when it comes to limited funds, because you can only spend what you have in this moment, which to a lot of people should be, a good thing. But like I said, there are going to be some cases where you're just going to need a little extra money in this moment, and a debit card is going to provide that for you. And like I mentioned earlier, you do have overdraft, meaning that maybe you swipe your card for something, you thought you had $100 in that account, but you actually only had $30, so now you're $70 in the negative. And that's cool, you're still able to get the thing, but now you're gonna have an overdraft fee, which is usually anywhere from $25, on. So it's like that thing that would have cost you $100 is now cost you $125 because you didn't have enough money to cover it. So we want to stay out of keeping our bank accounts in the negative, because those are going to come with fees associated with it. Number 3 is debit cards aren't going to build your credit, which kind of sucks, because I feel like showing that you have consistent, cash coming in and consistent cash coming out, you're never going into the negative, should show that you're a responsible spender, but no one reports that. So just having a debit card is not going to be able to build up that credit rapport and to show other people that you are responsible. So bit of a con there. Con number 4, you get no perks for spending money on your debit card like you do with the credit card. So you can swipe all day long, but you're kind of leaving free money on the table. That's kind of like putting your money into a savings account that provides no interest on that money. So yeah, you're saving money, but you're missing out on money that could be just thrown at you if you were to put that in a high yield savings account, which I also have made videos about that, so I'll link them somewhere. But yeah, so using your debit card is great and all, but it's also missing out on free cash you could be having by using your credit card. And my final con, like I mentioned before, just having that, because you have to go through such a process and a credit background check and all these things to even get a credit card, when it comes to you wanting to use a debit card to borrow other things like a car or something else, you're going to have to provide more information to ensure to them that you are a reliable person, versus using your credit card. If you have this credit card, they assume you've already gone through all the notions and all the nonsense, so you're more respectable, you have more security with this than if you just had a debit card. Those are my cons associated with a debit card. So let's get into my cons associated with a credit card. First being the obvious choice of this being borrowed money. So because this is borrowed money, sometimes we can get a little swipe happy. Okay, so we're like, oh, I'll pay it later. I got money coming in later, and before you know, you done ran up a $7,000 balance, and you're just like, how did this happen, right? So, but you don't, because the limits. I mean, of course, credit cards have a limit at some point, unless you got a black card or something. Even then, I think those have some kind of limit. But the point is, you can put in your own daily spending limits and things like that, but most likely your credit cards are going to be more money than you have in your account. So when the sky's the limit, we tend to reach for it. So we can get really close to maxing those cards out, which can be a con, because lead up into my con number 2, now we have interest associated with it. And those interest rates are usually pretty high, 25% off the bat for most cards. So when you're carrying a balance of $6,000 to $7,000 on the credit card, you got to pay 25% interest on that. That's going to add up. So now that thing you bought that was only going to cost you $6,000, trying to pay that off within the year or even 2 years, and you're getting interest on it, that $6,000 purchase has now became an $8,000 purchase, right? So if you don't know how to use a credit card responsibly, this can be a con, because now everything you're buying is costing you extra. $20 is no longer $20, it's $25, because you got this balance that you're carrying over. Now you're getting charged interest on that, so now that balance is going to be higher, and it's a cycle. So if you're not responsible, this will be detrimental for you. And number 3, or whichever number we're on, I think 3, but most, I'm not even going to say most, because I only have one credit card that has a fee, but some credit cards are going to have an annual fee that you have to keep paying every year. But those are mostly going to be like travel rewards cards, or something like that, like a more elite club type credit card. But your usual credit cards from a bank like PNC, Huntington, Fifth Third, Chase, Bank of America, a credit card from the bank you bank at, it's usually going to have a free, no annual fee, and that's cool. But those more uppity ones are going to have an annual fee. You'll have to pay anywhere from $99 to like $500 a year. Then my last con for credit cards is going to be that cash advance, is what they call it. So again, since this is money that is borrowed to you, it's getting an advance on it. But there's fees associated with that. So versus when you use your debit card at an ATM, that's money that already exists in your account. So there's no fees associated with that, minus an ATM withdrawal fee if it's not the bank that you bank at. But on a credit card, if you are asking them to give you hard cash, it's like, how would they really charge interest on that? I mean, yeah, the balance would show, but how they do that is by charging a percentage on a cash advance. So there's going to be a fee associated with you going to the ATM and getting cash out. So that's going to be another con associated with the credit card. I'm going to toss in another credit card pro. This is going to be a bonus one that I think a lot of people either don't know or don't take advantage of, or take advantage of it in the wrong way. But most of the times when you open up a new credit card, they're going to give you 1 year interest free. And that's cool because you can buy the things that you need to buy or plan for things you want to buy. You have a year to pay it off before you even get any interest on it. So it takes off that con that I mentioned of having that balance by carrying a balance from month to month and getting that interest charge. So this is a great way to utilize it. If you can put something that you really need on a new credit card, that's a big sum amount. I wouldn't open a new card just to put $200 on it. But if you got to buy something that's $5,000 to $7,000, opening up a new credit card and then being able to pay that off, have a plan, but pay that off within the year without having any interest is a great way to utilize credit cards. And again, it's only the first year. They're not going to keep doing this. And then the con to that is if you don't pay it off by the end of the year, all that interest is going to hit you like a train. So you definitely want to make sure you have a plan and you're proactive in getting that balance down before the end of that year. But that's a pretty cool way. And they also allow balance transfer. So let's say one of your credit cards is a lot and the interest on it is getting a lot. Well, you can open up another credit card that maybe has a lower interest rate or something of the sort, and then transfer that balance over to this card. Credit card companies are smart. They're not going to allow the 0 interest a year on a balance transfer, because then people will just keep doing that. Like, just keep opening new cards and hopping just putting the debt in circulation. So no, but usually it's going to be like a lower interest rate on that. So that's a way to kind of help you catch up if you need to. So those are some cool things that they don't really tell you about credit cards or how to utilize them. All right, I took my mic off, so hopefully you could hear this. But another con I forgot to mention with credit cards is God forbid you don't make your credit card payment on time, you're getting a fee on top of that too. So yeah. Hey, as promised, let me tell you how I use my debit and credit cards. So first things up, my debit card. I don't use it for anything. Okay, my debit card sits there and it collects dust. I do use it when I need to get cash out for something. Obviously, if I need to go to the ATM, get some cash out. But especially nowadays, even if I need to give money to someone, we got Zelle, we got Venmo, we got Cash App. We have all these services where you could just send someone some money without ever having to physically hold the cash. So besides going to the ATM and getting money out for something, I can't think of the last time I swiped my debit card. So I use it for nothing. But my credit cards, however, I have a few and I use them for different categories. So that way I can keep track of my utilization. So for travel, I have a credit card for that. For personal stuff, so personal fun, I have a credit card for that. So that's like me wanting a treat, me wanting to go take myself to the movies, me wanting to hang out with a friend, whatever, that credit card is for that. And then I have a credit card that's for everything else. So like dates, or if I need household objects, or whatever. And then going back to my debit card, it's not that I don't use the money in that account. Of course, when I pay my bills, I have money auto-generating out of that bank account, but I just never use the card to actually swipe for anything. And with the credit card, I only use money that I physically have in my debit card or money I'm going to have within the next days. This way I stay out of debt. So I'm not going to go buy something that's $6,000. That's extreme. I'm not going to go buy something that's like, let's say $400 if I know I don't have $400, nor am I going to have $400 within the next 30 days. I also make sure that I pay my balance off in completeness every month. I do this by doing Friday check-ins, and I've made a video about this as well. I'll put that somewhere. But every Friday, I log into my bank accounts, and any balances I have on my credit cards, I pay them in full. This one holds me accountable to only spending money that I have in my checking account, because I know on Friday I'm going to have to pay this balance off. And I pick Friday because that's when most people get paid, so it's a good day to sit and check in. So I never carry a balance over. I ensure that before I even go buy something, do you have this money in your debit account? And if you don't, you need to be buying it because you don't have the money. Debit cards are meant to be for money that you have now. And credit cards are actually supposed to be used for emergencies. You're only supposed to use your credit cards if there's something that you absolutely need right now and you don't have the money for it. It's not supposed to be, I'm going to borrow this money and just go have fun and figure it out later. And I'll deal with all the interest rates and all the fees later. Like, yeah, you can do that, but that's not what the intention is. Credit card, emergency money, debit card, money you have now. But because I want those rewards, I use my credit card for everything. I just treat it like a debit card. So again, if I don't have that money in my checking account right now in this moment, or I won't have it within the next couple of days, or before the month is over, I don't spend it. I just don't. And that's how I stay out of debt. Then as all of those points accumulate and I can turn them into dollar values, I always apply it to my statement. So if that Friday comes up and I have $100 in rewards, but also I'm carrying a balance of $120, I'll use $100 in my rewards, and then I only have to use $20 of my own money. And then maybe that other $80 that I would have spent, I can buy something else with it. I can put it in my savings account. I can, something. Because like that was money that it is money that I spent because someone else gave me money or paid that balance for me. Now that's money of my own I didn't have to spend, but it's money I spent already, if that makes sense. So I can use that and start saving. I think that's a great way to build up your savings account by using those rewards. So pretty much however many dollars you have in rewards, take that same amount from your checking account and put it into savings. Because again, this was money you were going to spend either way. If the credit card company did not give you those points, you would have had to pay that balance off in full yourself. But because they gave you some money, now you don't have to. So this is a good opportunity for you to take that money and put it in savings for something else that you want in the future. So that's my style. Recap. I treat my credit cards like a debit card by only spending money that I have available or money that I will have available within the next 30 days. All the points that I get, I use them as statement balances to pay off whatever card I have. I never carry a balance over month to month. I pay my cards off every Friday, and I use my debit card for nothing. It's in my wallet, and it collects dust and looks great unless I need cash for something that I have to withdraw for. Has worked for me for the past 10 years that I've owned credit cards, and it's the system that I recommend for everyone else. Okay, I feel like I'm rambling now, but I just feel really passionate about that. But anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please, you know what to do. Give me that thumbs up. Share it with a friend, someone that needs, some tips and tricks on credit and debit cards. Maybe someone that's leaving high school and about to go into college, because God, they don't teach us anything about that in school. And I'll catch you in the next video. As always, don't forget to crush it.